Okay, hello. Welcome everyone to DroidCon San Francisco 2023. Woo! Hi, I'm Nick DiPatri from the Comcast Corporation, and today we're going to talk about practical compose navigation with a red siren. Now, you should know that a red siren isn't absolutely necessary, but we just have it here for fun, okay? So we care about compose navigation because it allows us to build our screens using compose with no fragments or their legacy navigation system. Right? This will be a live coding exercise. And at the bottom of the screen is a link here to all the code we're going to be writing today. So today, we're going to build this app together. We can use it to remotely control the red siren here. It's a top navigation bar with a greeting screen and a configure screen. Right? We can click on the checkbox here to indicate that we want to turn the siren on or off. Right? So I check the box, and we navigate to the show siren screen. It will send the value of the checkbox over the network, and the red siren will respond accordingly, as you just saw. Everybody see that? All right, good enough. So let's go back. We're going to start. To build this app, we're going to start from scratch with a basic Hello World application. It's an Android Compose project, very vanilla. Okay, here it is. Hello World, there you go. So I've already pulled in the necessary dependencies, so we can just spend all of our time in the main activity. But here it is in the project, okay, right there. So first, I'm going to replace these two Hello World composables here. I'm going to replace them with our more interesting greeting, configure, and show siren ones. So let's go ahead and do that. I learned a bunch of new keyboard shortcuts the last couple of days. I'm going to try them all today. What could possibly go wrong? All right. So the configure screen has intrinsic state. By default, the checkbox does not remember its own state, right? We need to do that ourselves, as we see here with this. We'll touch on the use of remember savable here in a few moments. Just know that this composable has intrinsic UI state that is currently not shared externally. The show siren screen here shows the current state of the siren. That's this right here. And it has the ability to turn on and off the siren based on input parameters, right? Eventually, we will instruct the siren to turn on and off using the checkbox from the configure screen, but not yet. For now, we'll hard code this value off. So now that we have our three screens, we can talk about how we're going to navigate between them. The first thing we need are navigation buttons, right? We're going to add our own simple top navigation bar by replacing the existing greetings composable up here. Sorry, there you go. We're going to replace this with some code. Let's do that. Here's our new code, okay? We've added a column, and our first row in this column is our new top navigation bar right here. And below that is our original content. Now, each button corresponds to one of our navigation destinations. And each has its own on-click method, right? So we will populate these on-click methods using compose navigation. So a quick sidebar, Jetpack Compose. The Jetpack principle is you add to the Android system only what you need, and you maintain its version independently of the operating system, right? So we do this with Navigation Compose. So the application configuration, the Gradle config right here, as you can see, I've already pulled in the Navigation Compose dependency, okay? So I'm going to go back to the main activity screen now. There are three main components we need when using Jetpack Compose navigation. The first is the nav controller. I'm using live templates, by the way. All right, in case you're wondering. The first is the nav controller, as I said, right? And as we'll see, it's used mostly for its navigate function. It's how we navigate from screen to screen. The remember nav controller factory method uses remember savable under the covers and maintains the state beyond the life of this composable and is tied to the activity. The next two navigation components are the nav hosts and the nav. So let's replace our existing content with a nav host. That's down here, okay? Oh, wrong one. Let's try that again. There you go. So this is what we just inserted here. This is our new content. The nav host is our parent composable that contains all possible destination composables. We'll tell the nav host about our nav controller and the starting destination right here. So the nav host, if you look at it, the nav host constructor has a nav graph builder as a trailing lambda right here, okay? This is where we define all of our possible navigation routes. This is our nav graph, and that's right here. Oh, I learned something new. Ready? Watch this, folks. Up, 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 up. There you go. That is our nav graph builder. Thank you. The last talk, I was sitting in there, and I got that, and it worked. Yay. So here we can see our three original screens, right? They're each given a unique route name. By the way, route and destination mean the same thing, okay? So the route names provide an abstraction so that when we want to navigate to a route, we only need the name of the route. We don't need the name of the composable that implements it. So now we're going to use our navigation controller in each of our on-click lambdas. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say nav controller, navigate, and then we're going to, this is the greetings button, so I'm going to navigate to the greeting route. Again, up, 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 up. It worked, yay. I'm going to paste that here. This is the configure button. So we're going to go to the configure route. And likewise here, this is a show siren. There you go. So let's launch the application and see what happens. So here we see our top navigation bar. The entire area below that is our nav host, and it's populated with the current route in the nav graph. Here we see it is navigated to our start destination, which is the greeting screen. Now, Compose Navigation maintains a navigation backstack. At the start, the backstack is empty. When we click on the configure button right here, I want to click on it, the greeting screen is removed from the composition and put on the top of the backstack. The configure screen is created and added to the composition. Boom, there it is. So our backstack now has an entry of 1, the greeting. When we hit the back button, the current screen configure is popped or removed from the composition, and what's on the top of the backstack, the greeting, is added back to the composition. So I'm going to hit the back button, boom, there you go. The backstack is now empty. So if we click the back button again, the app exits, right? So when navigating, remember, we're always removing and adding composables from the composition. We're not recomposing. Now let's look at a few navigation scenarios and see how they impact the state of our composables. So we're going to click on configure. Let me get rid of that. We're going to click on configure, check the box. Then we're going to click on show siren. Then we're going to go back. Now notice the checkbox is still checked. It was remembered. This is because when we use the backstack, the navigation library will remember any state that used the remember savable function, such as our checkbox, right? The navigation library uses a save state mechanism. So remember alone won't work. It has to be remember savable because we're not simply recomposing. Okay. More fun. We're going to click on configure, check the box. We're going to go to show siren here. Now I'm going to click on configure again. Uh-oh, the checkbox is gone. What happened? This is because each time we click, we are creating a new composable and putting our previous composable on the backstack, just making our stack grow in size. It's not that the checkbox isn't remembered, it's that we're looking at a new checkbox each time. The guy's shaking his head. Good, thank you. We have another problem as well. Notice if I click configure many times, click, 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 clickety, click. If I click the back button, what I've done is I've just added a whole bunch of configures on top of each other, right? So the navigation library lets us provide additional options when we navigate. That's how we're going to fix these problems. Notice that the navigate call allows for trailing lambdas right here. Let's look at this. See the trailing lambda there? It allows us to provide options. So we're going to do that now. Boom. And this is an option builder, okay? So this is where we can provide our additional options. The first thing we're going to provide is launch single top. The launch single top navigation option prevents duplicate entries at the top of the backstack. So repeatedly clicking or spamming the button, as my daughter would say, does nothing. So also with the top navigation bar, let's go back here and look at the app. With the top navigation bar, such as we have, we really don't want a deep navigation backstack because each destination stands on its own, really. And for example, let's click the navigation buttons a bunch of times. Right? Let's just go around, click, clickety click, right? And then we're going to click back. It's kind of silly, right? You're just kind of going back through and it doesn't really make sense for this application. When we hit the back button once, we want to pop all these values off the backstack up to the greeting destination. For this, we use the pop up to navigation option. So I got to use keyboard shortcuts, folks. Come on, keyboard shortcuts. So pop up to greeting. This is another nav option. It tells us where to pop when we pop back to the beginning, and it's a greeting screen. So here's something interesting. We've only changed one of our navigate calls, right? So these other navigate calls right here aren't realizing this benefit. This is a great candidate for an extension function. So remember, extension functions are useful for adding functionality to existing third-party libraries that we have no control over. This is a perfect candidate, right? Compose navigation is, in fact, a library that we're talking about. So we're going to add an extension function down here. If you notice, I've added the navigate single extension function. This is our new extension function, right? Can everybody see okay? It's a bad time to ask. We good? Okay, it's a big screen. So this navigate single is our extension function, and you see it does those things that I added up above. So now let's go back and just use that extension function up here. So let's get rid of what we already had. And now I'm going to do navigate single. Okay, ready? Drum roll. Let's see if I can do this. Bam. Oh, it worked. Yeah. Okay. Now we're just going to copy this extension function down here. Navigate single for all three. Okay? Okay, so we're done. We're not done configuring just yet. We have fixed some issues, but we still have one more problem. Let's redeploy the app. Okay, we're going to click on configure. We're going to check the box. I'm going to click on show Siren. And now, like before, I'm going to click the back button, but now we're going to pop all the way back to the greeting screen, right, as we expect. Let's try it. Bloop, it worked. Now, if we click back on the configure button, well, you can guess something's not right, right? So here it is. My tone portends an issue. And lo and behold, our checkbox is gone. What happened? This is because we popped configure screen when we popped up to the greeting screen. When you pop the backstack, the navigation library by default assumes you want to forget your intrinsic state of all screens that you popped. In our case, this is not desirable. So we need to configure popping so that when you pop, you save. So let's look at our extension function because that's where we're doing our navigating. Pop up to, it turns out, also has a trailing lambda. That's why I'm doing a talk, folks. There's a lot going on here. So save state equals true. By using save state, we're telling the navigation library to remember the state of any popped composables that use the remember savable function. We also need to trigger the navigation library to restore this state when we return to a composable. Saving it is enough. You have to tell it to restore as well. No judgment here, folks. We're just telling you how it is. All right, so we need to add the restore state flag to our navigation function. So we put that here. So as you can see, I have that up here. It's a passed-in parameter. And right now it's true. So it'll always restore. So now let's redeploy the app. Okay, so now we can see when we do this, right? I click the checkbox, I go to Show Siren, I click the back button, that popped the configure screen, and presumably now it saved it, right? So when I go back to the configure screen, it's going to restore the state, we think. Can I get a drum roll? Thank you. Boom, it worked, great. Thanks for, it's late, folks, I appreciate the help. All right. So all these state problems we've been solving are so we can continue to preserve the intrinsic UI state of our screen composables. Yes, we could have just stored the state of our checkbox in some global state holder, but up to this point, it didn't need to persist outside of our configure composable, right? As we know, this state encapsulation, this is an important concept with Compose. And Compose navigation lets us maintain this. Okay. We've been staring at this red siren for a while now. If you weren't sitting here before, it was on, but maybe you don't even think it goes on, and trust me, it does. Well, maybe not. Let's find out. So let's make this more exciting. Now we want to pass that on-off flag from the configure screen to the show siren screen, okay? So what I mean is, right here where we're navigating, we want to pass that argument in from the configure screen, right? Down here, this thing. Down the configure composable, like we want to pass that in, right? How do we get that up? How do we get this value up? So the answer is we hoist it. That's the term we use, right? And so how do we hoist it? Well, we just move it up, literally, right? So I want to take this and I want to move it up high enough so that this can see it, right? Well, we just go above it and plop it right here. So following the unidirectional data flow principle, this state will be passed down to our configure composable, and any event to change that state will be passed up from the same composable, right? So let's continue with this hoisting. We're not done yet. In fact, if you look at, we've broken something. So let's just follow the errors. We have to fix our composable since we hoisted the state up, right? We need to pass the state down into it. So we pass the state down, and I'm going to create a lambda here. And we pass the event up when the checkbox is checked by using this lambda. Okay. Okay, to finish the hoisting, we have to fix the call site for this composable, right? We've just changed the composable. We need to fix it. Or you can just look at the giant glaring red error above. So let's go back up here. The call site for configure has an error right here. You see that? So we have to fix that. There it is. Let's take a look at the hoisted siren state now, right? Right here. So this is, remember, we moved this up here. Here it is. It's a mutable state. This means it can be observed for any changes by one or more composables. Right? Since the configure composable observes this state, assuming it's the current route being shown, it will be recomposed when the state is changed. This happens when the checkbox is clicked, as we can see. Right? It works. There you go. So, now that we've hoisted this checkbox state, we can use it when we try to navigate to the show siren route. Bless you. So right here, that's where we navigate, right? And this is how we include a navigation argument. Ready? It's really hard. Oop, there it is. Oh, what did I just do? Good Lord. Live coding, what could go wrong? Here you go. Let's try it again. /siren. There you go. Okay. So now I've passed an argument. And obviously we need to fix the route that we're going to, the show siren route, right? We need to configure this route so that it receives this new argument, right? That makes sense. So let's go ahead and do that. So when we navigate to show Siren, we need to include now a should be on argument. When defined this way, this argument is not optional. It must be provided or the navigation call will crash the app. So now we can use this argument when we call the show Siren composable. Right down here, right? So we're using it here. We've done it. We've passed the argument into our show Siren composable. So now before we test this, remember we told Compose Navigation to restore the previous state of all of our screens, including the show Siren when we navigate to them? That actually isn't right now. We made this change in our extension function. Let's go look at that, right? Oh, no, it's down here. There it is. Sorry, I scrolled too fast there. Here's our extension function. Here's where we're told to restore state. The show Siren screen should never be restored, right? It should always use the passed argument when rendering its state. So we need to change our show Siren navigate call to basically pass in a false here. We don't want it to restore state. So let's go ahead and fix that. We have to go up to our navigate call here and just pass in that argument. There you go. Now we can redeploy the app. Get ready. I'm going to need another drum roll, folks. Not yet, not yet, not yet. I was prepping you. Sorry. That was confusing. So we're going to navigate to the configure screen again. We're going to check the box. And then when I navigate to the show Siren screen, we will pass the argument, right? Okay, now's a drum roll. Okay, there you go. Worked. Applause. Come on. Let's congratulate. Well, you're congratulating me, really, but that's okay. I'm shamelessly accepting applause. All right. So notice also if we leave and we uncheck the box and go back, it passed the right argument, right? It didn't remember that it was on last time, so that was important. Okay. Now let's talk about how our show Siren screen composable works. Let's look at that for a second. So intuitively, we know that for many reasons, it would be better to use a view model to manage turning on and off the Siren, right? This is a network call. It's really not a UI thing. It really belongs in a view model. So let's make a view model. Why not? So nav, start, view model. Here we go. Here's our show Siren view model. Oops, sorry. And all I've really done here is I've just moved this code here. I've moved it up to here. Also, I'll leave this should be on to true for now. We'll get back to that. Okay, let's use this view model. Back up here. Right? Remember, we're using this in conjunction with turning on the Siren, so we have to put it here. So this is the show Siren view model, and we're going to use the view model factory method provided by the OS. So given the return type, this view model factory function is smart enough to know to return the right view model. Okay, here comes the interesting part. How do we pass our navigation argument should be on? How do we pass it to the view model? Right? During its construction, right? We've deferred the actual construction of our view model to the view model factory method. We really don't have any direct control over when it gets created. So it turns out, Compose Navigation, under the covers, uses a save state system to store the navigation arguments. When we navigate with an argument, it is saved in a save state handle. That same save state handle is available to this view model factory by the OS. So if your view model constructor takes a save state handle as an argument, the view model function will automatically provide it. How cool is that? So let's change our view model to accept a save state handle. See, where is that? Save, there you go. Okay. And now we're going to use that save state handle here. We're going to use a state object. So save state handle is really just a map. And we're going to say, we're going to get back the nav argument by calling it like this. Just explicitly asking for it. And it's nullable. And now since it's a state object, we need to get the value. So let's change our call site to use the view model instead of our nav arg directly, right? There's really no reason here to do this anymore. We can get it from the VM. Since our VM now is getting the nav argument, we can just do this, right? So again, This is powerful because we often want to initialize our view models with some form of navargs. Usually it's like a user ID, right? But creation of our view models is often deferred to a factory, as we've just seen. Usually it's with Dagger or, or a Hilt. Let's quickly relaunch and see if everything we did works. Won't that be nice? What's that? I'm sorry, if you go in here. Oh, the view model. Oh, yeah. All right. Everyone here gets a cookie. That's awesome. Thank you. Because this is the kind of stuff, you know what? Come on, that would have been cool to see me sweat. All right, you guys are too nice. I would have been like, let's see how he handles that. I'm impressed. You guys are all right. Okay. What was I doing? Oh, you relaunch. Right. So let's go and just double check and make sure it all still works. And boom. No more applause because we just know it's going to work, right? Thanks to the people in the audience, actually. Did it? Oh, I'd have to relaunch it too, so thank you. You get two cookies. By the way, this is actually pair programming. This isn't live coding, it's pair programming. Come on. Okay, here we go. Let's try again. Oh, that was loud. I'm sorry. Good Lord. There you go. Okay. So that was good. All right. That clap. Sorry, sound guy. That was horrible. Okay, so we've built a multi-screen app with composed navigation without using fragments. Let's call this pure compose, right? Unfortunately, most of us have existing Android applications that use fragments, right? Using legacy navigation fragments, right? I'm sorry. So these fragments use a legacy navigation system. And with composed navigation, you can only navigate among composables. So how do we merge these two worlds? So we don't have to rebuild our entire app from the ground up to use pure compose with our new work. What do? So I have a solution. Everything we've built so far today, the nav host, the nav bar, they're all composables. They can all be placed in a compose view inside of a fragment. Still feel bad about that clap, sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's first take all of our composed content. It's all right here, right? All this stuff we've made today. I'm going to grab it all. And we're going to take it all and stick it inside of a main screen composable. Boom. All right, let me grab this one thing down here. I'm still impressed you guys helped me out. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to take this and put it here. Okay, so this contains everything we've done today. Bless you. Including our composed navigation, right? So now let's create a simple fragment to contain our new main screen composable. We're going to put that here. This pure composed bridge fragment. All right, so now we can move our main screen into this compose view inside of our fragment. So I'm going to take this one line here and put it up here. And finally, we can launch our fragment in our activity. Like so. Now here is our fragment that we're launching, right? So normally we wouldn't launch a fragment using a fragment manager. Rather, we would use it inside of our legacy nav graph, right? Oh, I have to change this too. You're all looking at me saying, does he know it's broken? If not, I'm sure you guys would help me figure it out. Okay, fragment activity. There you go. Boom. Okay. So let's redeploy the app. So here, so we've now launched a fragment inside of our activity. Let's launch this and see how it works. So spoiler alert, it all works. If I can push the right button. There you go. So here you go. Show Siren. Boom. Okay. So our entire composed navigation graph is now inside of a fragment. With this approach, your app will have two domains. Everything in the legacy nav graph in the activity continues as before, and everything inside of this bridge fragment will be pure compose. So with pure compose, you create your screens, right? Remember, entirely using compose. You no longer have to deal with fragments. That's great. The only challenge with this two-domain solution is you'll have two nav controllers to contend with. When you're inside of the bridge fragment, you navigate using the composed nav controller. That's all. So this solution isn't ideal, certainly, but it's a practical way, title of the talk, to use composed navigation in a large legacy application. All right? So, sidebar. I work with a lot of cool folks back at Comcast, and they all help me in many ways. But I wanted to thank three folks in particular for helping me learn composed navigation. That is Matt Inger, Henry Dixon, and Elise Dapalone. That's it, folks. Thanks to all of you for hanging out so late in the day, and thank you for helping me fix my code.